you right now are in the middle of creating a number of things in your life and potentials. You're either creating more angst and more anxiety and more stress, in which case you're going to be right. Or you could pause and create joy, fulfillment, freedom, and anchor into that. Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast, a space dedicated to one belief that you have the power within to create everything you seek. So if you are ready to step into a new kind of higher learning, the kind that leads to true personal freedom, hang here with me. I'm your host, Rudi Riekstins, and this is the Empowered Life. Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast. My name is Rudi Riekstins. I'm your host, and I'm joined by my incredible wife, Anniston Riekstins, and we are recording from our new home in Bozeman, Montana.
Our very unpacked, unput together home. So you're getting first glimpse at an unfinished office, but we are committed to showing up every single week.
We want to share this journey of what it has taken for us to get to where we are right now. And if you've been following me, whether it is through the podcast, social media, within my communities, then you've heard repeatedly either myself or Anniston talk about how we one day woke up with a vision that we wanted to move from the coast and we wanted to move to Montana and we wanted land and we wanted space and we wanted mountain views, and we had created this picturesque dream of what we wanted our lives to look like. But it didn't come in a way that we could have imagined.
No, not even close. But isn't that always the case? I feel like, I don't know, for any of you listening and you've wanted something and you've manifested something, did it come the way that you thought it would? Yet we get all shocked and shaken when it doesn't unfold the way we think it will, because it's not supposed to. I don't think it's supposed to.
I wanted to just caveat that right up front because we're going to share an incredible story with you today. This one is going to be short, it's going to be sweet, and it's going to be punchy because we want you to turn around in action what we're talking about right here today. And that is that you have the power and the potential to have, to be, to do, and to create anything. We are very powerful, creative beings, but somewhere along the way in this human journey, it was either hidden or forgotten. But it is now the time to remember. And the reason I add that up front is we're going to tell a story that's really going to speak into what does this messy unfolding look like that ends in magic that is your life. And that you might find yourself right now in a place where you are wanting something, you're aspiring to have something, and everything looks and feels like it's falling apart. But in actuality, it's falling together.
What's so interesting, so if you go back a couple of episodes, I would say maybe a month ago or 6 weeks ago, Rudi and I showed up on your podcast and we were sharing the journey and sharing about how we aligned and manifested this specific home. And it turns out that that home that we were speaking about, that there was a shift and that what was aligned then no longer was aligned. Some shifts had happened with the owner coming back to us, and what was agreed upon wasn't going to be followed through with. And so Rudi and I had to sit down and say, okay, is this still right? And when these kinds of things happen, as you're feeling your way forward along a path in this unknown territory, it's going to happen where there are going to be shifts. And you have to continue to trust in the flow and that everything is leading you down a path, and that just because you thought you had reached the final destination and then all of a sudden you realize you hadn't, doesn't make you wrong. And that's where I think a lot of people get stuck, is they feel like, oh, then I must have completely misread that situation. And no, it was actually a very necessary step towards ultimately where we landed. It just wasn't the final one. And that's where I think it's a willingness to not grip and hold on to what has presented itself, knowing that something better might still be coming. And that is what this journey has really showed us over and over and over again, is that in this process of we want to manifest a home to live in Bozeman that is reflective of everything that we desire, which is space and privacy and beauty and magic. We wanted a property that when we walked outside every single day, we were like pinching ourselves. That's what we wanted. And some of you might be like, well, that seems like a really tall order to ask for. I mean, you're in Montana. What more could you want? But this desire was so strong within us. We felt it so viscerally. We had spent so many hours visualizing it in our priming and in our meditation. It felt so real to us that every home we were seeing that was coming up on Zillow or coming up on Realtor, it just wasn't a match. And at some point, we started having to make decisions, like physical decisions in life in order to move forward, yet we still didn't have any guarantees of where we were living. And so mid-June, we were presented with a home, seemed like it was perfect on paper, and then it didn't wind up working out. Well, we had already sold our house. We had to leave. So we had to move forward in faith. We actually wound up having to leave Wilmington with no lease signed, no home in sight, and trust that on this journey we were taking, it would all unfold in divine timing and in the perfect way. And here's what I want to say before I hand this over to Rudi. Rudi and I are both teachers. We are transformational mentors. We teach follow your intuition. We teach manifestation. We teach all of these things that we were asked to live. We were being initiated at such a deep level, a deeper level than we've ever been initiated into our own teaching. And I want you to hear this because for those of you, we have so many coaches that listen to this, so many of those that serve other individuals or teach or write or speak. And you will continue to be initiated and become a master, an embodied master of what you're here to teach. And it is not a punishment. It's actually a gift, and it signals something great is coming.
We had around 4 properties that we found that we almost settled on because we started to feel the pressure of the move, the need to create structure and stability. We needed to give our kids a home. We had people within our communities messaging us saying, you're irresponsible parents. You should give your kids a place to live. They need to know where they're going. You need an address. We left Wilmington, as Anniston had shared, not having an address or a destination we were moving into. We'd packed up our house. We had to get a moving van to put our stuff in storage because we didn't know where we were going to be. Instead of just moving in 3 days to an area without a home, we thought, well, we'll just do a road trip. And our dear friends graciously offered us their RV, and we took a 2.5-week RV trip across the country. And it was magical. And every day we did the only thing that we could control. And that was we would go inward and create the feeling of connecting to a property that was magical. And then we would just move forward in our day. And we would drive to another destination, we would unpack, we would go horseback riding with the kids or whitewater rafting the next day. And there was just these activities that we were filling. But every morning, the two of us would ground and anchor that there was going to be an unfolding. Now, we are not saying that every single person on the planet should throw caution to the wind and sell their house and blow up their lives and just hope that everything's going to work out the way that it needs to. But what we are saying is that you are creative beings and that at every turn, you need to be committed to the end result of what it is that you are wanting to create and what it is you're wanting to experience. When properties came up and we said, oh, we think we've got the one, every single time, we were lying to ourselves because there was something on that list that we were settling. One was in a subdivision, but it was in a great area. And so we thought, whoa, well, we'll settle on what we want because it'll be what our kids need. And then the next property that came up, there was, oh, it's got these things, but it's missing that thing. And every time we innately knew it was not the one, but we were trying to create structure and stability. And that's just part of the human experience. But at no point in time did we sign a lease, commit, and say, this is what we're doing. I want to go deeper in the story just around this one point, because this is what's going to translate in your life the closest. We were 5 days from arriving in Bozeman, 5 days from being in the city where we're moving to, 5 days from the end of our RV trip, and the pressure to find a house was high. Anniston had texted me a listing that morning. She was driving ahead of me. I was driving behind in the RV, and she said to me, hey, I found a property and it's a really good property and we should consider it. And so I looked at it at a gas station and we were filling up, and I just went through the listing. And I said to her, I feel anxiety in my stomach just looking at this property. The property looks great on paper, quote unquote, but my stomach immediately turned and I felt that subtle shift in my gut. And I said to Anniston, I know we have 5 days and I know the pressure's on us and we could lose this if we wait, but I want to just sit with it. We've got another 2-hour drive before the next time we have to stop and let the dogs go potty and put more gas in, etc. I was like, give me 2 hours to sit with this. I just want to sit with it and I want to pray on it. And then she said to me, well, if we lose it, it wasn't ours. It wasn't meant to be. So we took the 2 hours. She sat in her car in silence. I sat in mine in silence, and we just sat with the idea. And when we pulled over for the next stop, I didn't even have to tell her I didn't want the property. She walked straight in and said to me, you know what? It's not the one. She's like, I feel it in my gut as well. It's not the one. Now, can I just ground for a second? We are moving our family. We are 5 days away from being where we need to put our feet down. And we just said, if we have to live in an RV for another month, we will not give up on this mission. And it had already been 3 months of looking every single day on every single property market for sale, on every property rental site, and every day that disheartened feeling of we're not finding it until we did.
This whole process has been such a feel your way forward. And I use that word feeling a lot because I really want to emphasize that no part of this was comfortable, that the entire time, like both of us, our minds kept begging for certainty, like begging, saying, please get me out of this uncertainty. This is dangerous. This is not good. This is uncomfortable. And that was that underlying feeling. And sometimes Rudi and I would sit at night and talk to each other and say, gosh, there's this huge part of myself, like my mind and my ego, that just wants to like pick a house to be done with it, just to get out of the unknown into the known. And I wanted to point that out because as you're sitting listening to this and you're inevitably thinking about some situation in your life where you have this desire that's going to require you to step into the unknown, into uncertainty, and that voice is loud that is saying, nope, it's not worth it. It's just too risky. It would be too scary. It would be too terrifying. And I want you to know that that feeling of uncomfortability is so normal. It's actually just a function of the brain. It's a function of the nervous system responding to, hey, we're in uncharted territory now. We don't know what's going to happen. And it's a warning system. It's a warning bell, but it's not meant to be reacted to. It's meant to be acknowledged and then say, oh, I recognize this. But your soul, and this is what I believe that there was always a property, that the property and the plan existed before the desire did. That the desire was placed upon Rudi and I's heart for the very specifics of the property that was meant for us. That this wasn't just our imaginations conjuring up like this visualization and this feeling of this property, that in fact it was a recognition. It was a knowing, and we were sensing into what already existed, what already had been flagged for, this is for Rudi and Anniston. This will be perfect for their next unfolding. This will be perfect for their next chapter. We were sensing into that, and that our minds cannot perceive that, but our souls can. And our souls actually speak to us just as God does through our heart. Well, our heart is in our body. Our body knows and is responding to the messages that are coming from our heart. So when Rudi says, yeah, I got instant anxiety when I was looking at that property, that is not just a fluke. That is, it's as good as words, right? Our bodies don't speak in words, but they speak in feeling. And so we are so attuned to our body's messages that we understand its language. And that has taken time and has taken practice. And it is one of the most important and necessary embodiment skills that we can recommend to you, I also tuned into that. Now, while I was driving separately and praying and just speaking out loud, I was by myself. I think the kids were sleeping in the RV with Rudy while he was driving. And I literally just said, I was like, okay, come on, what's going on? Like, just give it to me. What needs to shift within me? Now, I want you to hear this. I said, what needs to shift within me to align with this property that is meant for us? Because that's always the way. We get in our own way with resistance, with limiting beliefs, with old energy. And what I heard was so clear and it was so loud. And what I heard was, this house that you just found that you don't really feel aligned with, but that looks perfect on paper, is just a reflection of what you think is possible. You are being met with where you are vibrating. That was what we were equal to, was that house. What I heard was, if you want magic, you got to radiate magic, baby. Like, you got to get yourself back into that visualization, just being there, feeling the magic of it, and hold that. Then you will be met with magic.
Anniston called me and she said, we have to spiral up.
You should explain those words.
We need to spiral up. And she had so much excitement in her tone. And this is not a new term to either of us. But what I want to remind you is, we're human. We're having this human experience. And we forget. We forget the tools in the heat of the moment, when we're caught up in the emotion, when we're feeling the pressure. We forget the tools. I want to go back and ground something that Anniston just said. You're only ever going to get what your minimum expectation is for what you want for your life. And so if you think of your bank account right now, if you've got $10,000 in your bank account, that's because you believe that the minimum expectation of what you are worth is $10,000, and that's where the money is equal to. If you don't have a loving relationship, same thing applies. But if you increase, you spiral up your frequency, you shift what you feel, you shift what you believe you are worthy of having, you shift your state from stress or fear or anxiety to love, to joy, to fulfillment, freedom, abundance, then all of a sudden you are beginning to move your energy to a new level, a new frequency, thus bringing in things in the physical that meet and match that. And so the property that we had found 4 different times, 4 different properties, they were based on what we believed we could find. Now, when we first came up with the vision, we aligned with the energy of the home that we believe we've moved into. But when we went to Bozeman to go and look at property, we were very disheartened because everything was $3 million to $10 million, and land was very expensive, and everybody was cussing Tyler Sheridan out for making Yellowstone and Montana so famous because now all the property values have gone through the roof. And we left debilitated. We were like, well, this is frustrating because everything we want is going to be $5 to $10 million, and that's not the budget that we have for the home that we wanted to look for. So we said, fine, we'll rent. And then when we looked at rental properties, there was nothing. We were downsizing in home, in space, in comfort features. Yes.
Creature comforts.
That's it. And so everything that we wanted was going to be diminished, and we didn't want to diminish. We wanted to expand. And that's where the forgetting of the spiraling up process came. So every morning when we connected, we would spiral up, we'd connect and anchor to this feeling of this home that we believed was calling us. And then life, Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, the reality of what we saw would bring us back down. And when we stopped after the spiraling up process, we found magic.
So this is the crazy part, y'all. I mean, you can't even make this stuff up. So I call him, I'm like, let's spiral up, right? And then there's a good maybe an hour before he reaches, he's like, hey, let's stop to go to the bathroom. Let's gas up. And I'm like, okay. So it's been an hour. I've been spiraling. And how did I do that? Well, I was in a car, so it wasn't like I could go for a run, or I put on music. Music for me is one of the quickest ways to shift my energetic state. And so I have this song. I listen to the Harry Potter soundtrack sometimes, which I know is kind of funny, but it reminds me of how magical we all are. And so that always helps me. I listen to sound healing, solfeggio frequencies, or just music that all around empowers me. And I find that shifts my energy really fast. So I put on music. So for an hour, I'm jamming out to this music. Then we stop. I get on the RV. And I just feel this nudge, like, check Zillow. And I'm like, I am so over checking Zillow. I don't want to check Zillow anymore, but I do it anyway because I'm following those nudges. And I open it and it shows new properties just been listed for rent 3 minutes prior. Oh my gosh. I didn't even have a chance to open the listing. I saw the picture and I had chill bumps like going all the way up and down my spine. What does that mean in embodiment language? That's truth. That means pay attention. You've just landed on something. I know all of you can relate to that when you feel those chill bumps. That's what that is, that your body is responding to something it knows. And so I called Rudy. I'm like, Rudy, oh my gosh, I've just found our property. So the picture showed this beautiful white Victorian farmhouse sat on these green, lush acres in this valley surrounded by mountains. I actually thought there must be a mistake or this must be a joke. I was like, am I being pumped right now? Because this is exactly what we've been looking for to a T. And the house was perfect for us. It had a beautiful natural pond on the property. So it has its own water feature surrounded by other farms. So it's just this expansive land and it was available. And so we applied, we spoke to the owner and it flowed. It flowed and it was right on time. And here's what I want you to hear, because everything that unfolds is always unfolding in the height. When you allow divine timing, it's unfolding for the highest and best for everyone involved. And the landlord, the owner, had just found out that due to health reasons, the previous tenant had to depart the property. And it was sudden. And she was like, couldn't sleep all night because she's like, how am I going to find the right people for this very special property that she adores in the middle of summer? Most people have already landed on their properties. They've already moved in for the season. And when she woke up and she saw our application, she was filled with tremendous relief because we were right on time, just as this house was right on time.
I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I know that you've heard us say that repeatedly, and that is a hard pill to swallow, that everything is always for you and for the betterment of humanity. I think that the last 3 months, 90 days of agonizing and debilitating emotional seesawing that Anniston and I have gone through has been for your betterment. Because we have the most incredible story, if you've been following, that validates that you are a creative being and that everything is going to unfold, and that when you have a desire for something, did you come up with a desire or did the desire ping you because there's a roadmap for you to get to where it is that you're going? We want to leave you with this today, that you right now are in the middle of creating a number of things in your life and potentials. You're either creating more angst and more anxiety and more stress, in which case you're going to be right. Or you could pause and create joy, fulfillment, freedom, and anchor into that and spiral your energy up through a magic playlist on Spotify where you put all magical sounding music in that reminds you that you're a magical being. Or it could be through going into your mind and connecting to the end result emotion of what it would feel like. I spent my hour drive spiraling up by imagining us pulling into a driveway and the two of us looking at each other, holding hands and saying, oh my God, this place is magical. I cannot believe that this worked out the way that it did. I cannot believe we even questioned source. Why would we question God? We should have just trusted. And then I squeezed my finger and felt the emotion, squeezed my finger and felt the emotion. So I had my hand on a steering wheel, squeezing my index finger and thumb, feeling the emotion of awe and excitement and relief, and then having that overriding feeling of the whole time I should have just trusted in God. And then when we pulled into this home, 5 days later, we walked in and had literally that experience. Mm-hmm. This home is everything we ever imagined possible. We love where we're at. Our kids have both said to us they feel like they've never been more at home in a property than they do here. And we want you to be more at home in your skin than you've ever been anywhere in the world. And we want you to realize that you are the most powerful, benevolent, creative being, and that you are responding to impulses of potentialities. And your job is to align with who it is that you aspire to be, what it is you're meant to bring forward, to take the daily committed steps, the nudges, the things where you're being nudged to be able to say, I have to follow the link to go to Zillow. I have to do this thing that's going to get me. Those are the necessary human aspects, but all of them have to be connected to an emotional state. And so today, I want you to spiral up. Connect and align emotionally to the feeling of what it will feel like for you already have everything that you desire to have. We love you so much, and thank you for joining us for this episode in the Empowered Life Podcast. Please do share with either Anniston or I, or both of us, what was your greatest takeaway from today's episode. Till next time. Bye. If this episode gave you clarity, peace, or a perspective shift, hold on to that. And here is how you lock it in. Subscribe so that you keep building momentum week after week. And if you're the kind of person that believes a good message should travel, please leave a review. Reviews aren't just ratings. They're signals that help this reach the people who are ready for it. And then share this episode with somebody you love, someone you lead, or somebody that you were rooting for. Links are in the show notes so that you can connect with me online and on Instagram. Now go out there and take one beautiful, bold, and aligned step and make it count. I'm going to catch you on the next episode of the Empowered Life Podcast.